Hello everybody, and welcome back to my War Thunder Tips and Tricks series. Today we're going to be looking at ranging in your shots and adjusting for bullet drop. Before we begin looking at this, I do want to say that this is almost entirely exclusive to realistic and simulator battles. In arcade, you have this done for you. You have both the ranging and the adjustment for your aim done for you, so you don't need to worry about this if you're playing arcade. However, for those of you who wish to get into playing realistic and sim, this will hopefully help you get a little bit of a head start, I guess to say, at the whole ranging thing. However, before we begin looking at ranging, let's look at the actual scope. To look at the different features that are built into the game already. Okay, so when we are in your scope view, there are a few different points to look at. As per a typical scope, when you look at the horizontal and vertical lines going through it, those are your axes of adjustment. Your horizontal axis is going to be your measuring tool, and your vertical axis is going to be your adjusting tool. We will look at those later in the video, but just remember those. Off on the bottom left, you are going to see, or I guess it's to the far left more, there are a couple of numbers and some lines corresponding to these numbers. These numbers are ranges in hundreds of meters. So if you see the 8 or the 16, that's 800 and 1600 respectively meters away. These numbers have lines next to them, which then correspond to lines on your vertical adjustment scale. These are in multiples of 200 meters, which means if you look at the second line below the big long horizontal line, the second line down is going to be 400 meters away, the third one will be 800, the fourth one 1000, etc, etc, etc. This is how you're going to adjust your aim when you're looking at something, is by moving the crosshairs above your target and aiming using these different lines. The other thing you will see is another set of numbers that are in the middle of the scope. These are your mil dots. Mil dots are, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1 mil dot is the equivalent of 1 meter on a tank at 1000 meters away from you. So 8 mil dots means that if we're 1000 meters away from a tank, that tank is 8 meters long if it's 8 mil dots, I believe. See that, or it's 100 meters away or something. I don't really remember off the top of my head. I'll put it up in the video if I'm wrong. But those are your mil dots. And those are the main parts of your scope that we have in War Thunder. If they ever add in historical scopes, I'll go over those, but I really doubt that that'll ever happen. So let's look at the first way to actually range in a shot. Okay, so here we are in the test range, and we have a T26 over here. Now I don't know how far away it is, and I haven't measured this at all, but the quickest and easiest way to get this done, I shouldn't say the quickest, the easiest way to get this done is to go over to your controls, over to tank control, and then scrolling all the way down to the bottom and going to rangefinder and setting a button for the rangefinder. It doesn't have one standard as far as I remember, but if it does, I don't know what it is. So set a button for that. And resuming the game, we can hit that button and it will measure the range. See, it's 250 meters away. This is the easiest way to do it. However, it's got some limitations. The first limitation is it only measures what you were originally looking at. So if I was looking at that T26, it'll measure 250 meters despite the fact it moved. This means that if you hit R, in my case R, whatever you set it to, and you just barely miss the tank, and then move it over to the tank, you're going to measure a different distance. This can be problematic, especially when tanks are moving fairly fast or you're moving fairly fast and you just kind of press it to look at the general area. It can get you very different numbers than what you want. The second thing is that it has a maximum range. If we try and range in that tree all the way down there, we'll see that it's too far for our range. It's outside of 1,000 meters. I believe when you actually get into the game, it is 800 meters for tanks without rangefinders and something like 1,500 or 2,000 meters for them with. And what I mean by that is some tanks in the game have legit, like, actual rangefinders. They're two lasers that help triangulate the distance away. Most of them are tier 5. I think all of them are tier 5s. But it's not every tier 5, and I don't think that any Russians have one. It's mostly the Allied nations and Germany who actually invented them. So you have to actually range in within a limited distance. So this is a very limited way to do stuff, but it's the most accurate that can be done without much thinking. The second way we're going to look at is the absolute most accurate. You will get the actual answer. However, it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of math, and that is using mil dots. This time, we're looking at a T-34 that, again, I don't know the exact distance away. However, we're going to use mils. Now, mils, like I said before, are the little numbers on your horizontal axes. They go on both sides of the gun. Depending on how far enemy tank is away, you may have to use this to actually measure on both sides. So, in order to use the mils, you have to know the size of the enemy vehicle. Now, there's a fairly consistent sizing of tanks, I should say. Your average medium and light tank is going to be approximately 3 meters wide. Your average heavy tank is anywhere from 4 to 4.5 meters wide. Your super heavy tanks are going to be about 5 meters wide. At the same time, your average medium tank is, I believe, about 4.5, 5 meters long. Your average heavy tank is going to be in the range of 6-ish meters long, and your super heavy tanks are going to be in excess of 7 to 8 meters. Of course, you can look this up all on your own. Sizes of tanks is pretty well documented. It's probably on Wikipedia somewhere. I'll also put a link in the description to a very awesome website. It's on the forums, actually, that has a good list of a lot of vehicles in the game. It's not completely comprehensive because it was made a little while ago, but nonetheless, you can look there for some information. That being said, let's get into how to actually use these mils. So the first thing you need to do is know how big the enemy tank is. By what I just said, this T-34 is a medium tank, which means it's about 3 meters wide. This happens to be true. It is about 3 meters wide. It's, I believe, slightly less, something like that. I think like 2.9 meters, but that doesn't really matter. For what we're doing, 3 meters is perfectly acceptable. Next thing you need to know is how many mils it is wide. So we're going to put this crosshair on the edge of the tank hull and measure the width of the hull and find that it's about 25-ish. I mean, I suppose if we go on the edge of the tracks, we can call it 28. Let's just call it 28 mils wide. So in order to do this, we need to use the formula distance equals size in millimeters over mils. So what this means is that we have distance equals 3,000 millimeters, or 3 meters, over 28 mils. What we're going to get is about 107 meters away. If we hit our range finding button, we're going to see that it's 105 meters away approximately. So we're pretty accurate. If we use the exact numbers of how many mils it is wide and how how many millimeters is. We'll get the actual answer to the problem. However, the difference at 2 meters really isn't going to matter all that much, especially when they're this close. And even at a few thousand meters away, it won't matter all too much as far as your aim. You're probably going to miss anyways. That's how you use mils, and this is how most tankers in World War II actually ranged in their shots, was using mils. So that's pretty cool that you can use this in game and that it works. One thing I didn't show you in the other part of the video was, after we actually get this range, how do we actually shoot? So when we're looking at these ranges, we need to correspond them to the vertical lines. This means is that since we know that this is about 100 meters away, we don't aim at where the two long crosshairs aim. We actually aim slightly below it, because the shell, due to gravity, is going to drop, and it drops based on how far away it is and how fast the shell is moving. So a faster moving shell is going to drop a lot less over the same distance as a slower moving shell. And I'll look at that later in the video, but basically you're going to aim wherever the numbers correspond to what you found as the range. So we found the range to be 100. That's going to be in between the big line and the first tick, about halfway in between. So that's where we're going to aim to shoot this tank. And we see that the round basically goes right where we aimed. So that's that. The final method of ranging in your shots is the one that I use the most often, and it's really the one that you use after you've played the game enough, where you can actually tell how far away a tank is just by kind of looking at it. I see this IS-4M, and just judging by the eyeball, it looks to be about 1,000 meters away to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm aim down to the fourth line down, and I'm going to take a shot. And I hit it square on the money. However, if I had thought that tank is about 600 meters away, I might have shot right there. And we would see that I took out the tracks. What this means is I need to aim up. And an easy way to do this is to actually keep your crosshairs steady while you're firing, and then watch the tracer go in, and then wherever the tracer lands on your vertical axis, that's how far away the tank is. So since the tracks are where the 1,000 meter marking is, we now know that that tank is about 1,000 meters away, and we can adjust our aim accordingly. What this means is that your second shot on any engagement really should hit the target every single time. If we look at this in practice, I don't know how far away that this ridge is, so I'm just going to take a shot. Now we see that the smoke comes out about 1,000 meters away. That means that that ridge is about 1,000 meters away. You can use this to dial in your shots, and use the exact same system as any regular tracer. So if the tracer of the shell goes over, you need to adjust your aim down. The tracer of the shell or the impact is under, you need to adjust your aim up. It's a guess and check method, but as you get better at playing the game, it's a lot quicker to make snapshots if you know kind of an average distance. If you're good at judging distances, like this KV2, I think it's about 600 meters away. Nah, a little less, probably 500, but we see that it was actually close to about 600 meters away, just because of where the shell landed in relativity to the vertical post. Really, that's the big parts of ranging. The other things you need to know is that sometimes range isn't the best thing for a tank. If you can't penetrate at range, if your rounds don't have very good penetration, it's usually a good idea to get in close. If you have a really low velocity gun, you want to stay within a closer range, because you're not going to be able to hit stuff because you're aiming, way up here with the KV2's gun when you're trying to hit an IS-4M that's 1,000 meters away. it's just a preference thing. The last point I'd like to make about ranging is how shell velocities actually affect your tank's the ranging over distance. So if we see this chieftain, and right now it's firing an APDS shell. This APDS shell has approximately 1500 meters per second muzzle velocity. This means is as soon as we fire the gun, it travels about 1500 meters in 1 second. This is a pretty fast traveling round. I mean, it's considerably faster than most other rounds in the game. However, if we fire, we now see that Hesh comes up. And this Hesh shell fires at only about 730 meters per second, which is considerably slower. And we see the actual vertical markings are spread out quite a bit more. This means two things. Number one, your sight always scales to whatever ammo you have loaded up. So if you happen to have Hesh loaded up, your sight will automatically scale to the Hesh. If you have APDS loaded up, it will automatically scale to that. You don't need to worry about changing anything. It will automatically do it. And number two, lower velocity things will take a larger vertical guidance to get the same distance. If we look at the 8 in the Hesh, it's a good inch or so below the vertical line. However, if we look at the 12 even in the APDS, it's less than that. This means that over the same distance, the APDS will drop a lot less. This will help increase your accuracy because you don't need to be super well ranged in. You know, the difference between even the difference between 600 and 800 meters on the scope is a lot less than if we were firing other types of rounds. Which means that high velocity guns are a lot easier to aim at distance, especially in realistic and simulator battles, than your lower velocity guns and ammunition types. And that's pretty much it for ranging. If you guys have any more questions about ranging or anything else in the game that you would like help with, give me a shout out in the comments or a personal message or whatever. I'll try to make a video or help you out however best I can. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you out on the battlefield.